This crime took place on the 1st of September 1950, on the first day of the new school year. When school was out, two Kyiv students walking home found the dead body. They immediately recognized their schoolmate lying dead. Chasing away a hungry stray dog ready to make a bite, the students reported the shocking finding to adults. When police arrived, the boys called the name of their fellow, Andrei Chizhenko, 16 years old and overgrown 8th grade student. After the war, many children had to catch up with the school course after what they had missed. The boys gave Andrei's home address. Detectives realized that they were the ones to break the horrible news to the victim's mother. The crime scene examination left no doubts that it was a violent death. It occurred in the morning. Somebody's heavy blow with a blunt object, most likely a hammer, fractured the teen's skull. The incident was quite habitual for the post-war Kyiv. A gang of hammer strikers was active all around the city. Young and arrogant bandits left no witnesses alive. Each robbery ended with the victims hammered to death, even if the loot was just a handful of petty cash. The killed boy's hand retained a trace of a wristband. A watch was a valuable thing, quite tempting for robbers. Something did raise doubts, however. Hammer strikers would usually hit many times, while here just one strike. They tended to attack when it was dark, while here, death in the morning. Plus, the location was also quite unusual for the gang. They preferred to attack in passageways, nothing like this wasteland. Trapping a victim here didn't guarantee a successful job. A distinctive footprint was found by the victim. Not a good asset, though. This standard sole could lead to nowhere. Its size was just average, nothing remarkable. A briefcase found nearby proved that the boy was on his way to school. On this briefcase, detectives found a fingerprint left by somebody other than the victim. The most promising finding was a cigarette roll-up and a non-extinguishable match. These matches were widely used by German soldiers during the war. From the boy's pockets, examiners retrieved a piece of hardtack with Latin letters. LEI, foreign-made biscuits, a rare find in 1950. 5 years ago, hardtacks were everybody's meal. They arrived as part of Lend-Lease supplies from the US. In Nazi-occupied Kyiv, German soldiers used to treat kids to hardtacks, which were part of their daily ration. An officer came over to Andrei's mother and broke the tragic news. The woman had already sensed the trouble. The boy's teacher had visited her an hour ago to report that her son had missed classes on the first school day. The mother tried to convince the angry teacher that she clearly saw her son, joined by his friend Pavel, set off for school. Andrei's mother was just about to go see this friend and ask where her son might be. The news about the teen's death broke the woman. As the detective was talking to Andrei's mother, his friend Pavel showed up. The guy was worried and concerned. He confirmed that they were heading for the school that day. On their way, some young man looking like a real thug called Andrei. Tall, with snooping posture, his eyes expressed threat and aggression. Andrei told Pavel to go on alone and stay to talk to the stranger. Pavel swore he had seen this man before. He only knew that the guy could be found at Zhitny market, most likely vending or stealing something. Andrei's mother understood who Pavel referred to. A 16-year-old student hammered on his head to death, hypothetically as a result of a robbery, as the victim's watch was missing. The victim was met by a thuggish-looking stranger on his way to school. The mother shares her hunch of who the stranger is. 2 days ago, she saw her son talk to a suspiciously-looking man who demanded the debt repayment and threatened to her son. He also warned against telling anyone about it. The fearing woman offered to help, but Andrei replied that he would take care of the matter. There had been issues with Andrei before this incident. 6 months ago, he got entangled with a company of troubled kids older than himself. He grew secretive, stayed out of home, stole money from his mother. It triggered numerous fights. It turned out that the boy piled up a debt. During summer holidays, he went to work at a construction site and paid back with the earned salary. Things calmed down. Pavel suggested that the reason for Andrei's murder was his passion for gambling. The boy kept losing in card games. Oftentimes he was unable to repay his debts. He wore a watch indeed. It was a present from his father, who went to fight at war. The mother described the watch in detail, Zim brand with an engraving on the caseback, to my son Andrei. The young man who stopped Andrei that morning was a Roman Buzika, a frequenter at a local police precinct, a small-time crook, hooligan and extorter. Detectives set up surveillance of his home and revealed a gambling den there, which was a serious criminal offense by the Soviet laws. Most importantly, there was a watch on Buzika's hand, a Zim brand with the engraving. No doubts remained. The watch used to belong to the victim. And yet Buzika was not going to confess of murder. He screamed that he did not kill. He just bought the watch from Andrei. During the interrogation, however, his stubbornness evaporated. He admitted that he did indeed ambush Andrei to demand the debt repayment. But as the boy had no money, he offered his watch instead. The timing was carefully checked. At 8 a.m., Buzika checked in at Kyiv brewery, where he worked as a boiler operator. It was confirmed at the checkpoint. It took him over 30 minutes to get to work, which meant that he had a solid alibi at the time the teen was murdered. Buzika's fingerprints didn't match the prints on Andrei's briefcase, nor did his footprint match the print found at the crime scene. The suspicion of Buzika's committing the crime had to be lifted. However, a new lead for the investigation came from Andrei's mother. In her son's room, she found a box with silver earrings in. The jewelry was new. It seemed like the son was preparing a present for someone, but definitely not for his mom. Her ears were not pierced. Could it be that his relations with a girlfriend might be a reason for killing? Andrei's friends said nothing about it, and detectives decided to visit him at home to clear it up. Pavel affirmed that Andrei was in love with Nadia, a 20-year-old college student. It was unrequited love, though. The girl ridiculed the feelings of the boy, who was 4 years younger than herself. Once, Pavel witnessed an assault. Nadia's fiancé beat up Andrei. He demanded that the teen never approach her again and threatened to kill him if he does. At that point, Pavel's father returned home, very upset and shocked with the boy's death. After all, Andrei was like his own son. The father apologized for being unable to talk. He was very tired after a hard day at a brick-making plant splashing cement mud. Before leaving, detectives tried to find out more information about the girl and her fiancé. Pavel knew almost nothing other than names, Nadia and Nikolai. He also recalled his nickname, Zarya, and the neighborhood where he might live. Detectives came to the place, and, talking to locals, they found out that Zaritsky's family lives next door. The nickname Zarya could be a derivative of this family name. As they arrived at the place, they met a woman wearing a mournful scarf. She told that her son died 2 weeks ago as a result of a hand grenade explosion in the suburb. A tragic accident which was not unusual at those times. The mother confirmed that her son courted Nadia, a college student. The girl came to visit her after her fiancé's death. She cried and blamed herself for the tragedy. However, the woman had no idea about what exactly her fault was. The detectives were sure that talking to Nadia was a must. A high school student murdered in a deserted place in Kyiv. An overgrown student falls victim of an unknown attacker. A new motive to investigate is jealousy of a young man, a fiancé of a 20-year-old college student. This theory, however, falls apart at once. The fiancé tragically died 2 weeks ago. Nadia was found at a dorm of a garment-making industry college. She displayed no shred of sympathy for Andrei's death. She tried so hard to get rid of the annoying attention. Andrei struggled to win her goodwill by giving her expensive presents. Last time he brought her some German chocolate, hardtacks, coffee, even silver earrings. Where did he get money to buy all this? Or did he steal? Anyway, Nadia turned the gifts down, except the sweets, which she accepted to give to her roommate. The groceries Nadia took from a cabinet were all German-made, left from the war times. The detectives already knew that the hardtack found in the victim's pocket were of Leibniz brand. Eiserne Portion was part of the food pack that a German soldier was allowed to open only if so ordered by a commander when no other food was available for more than 24 hours. This set consisted of a 150-gram vegetable soup concentrate or canned sausage, 20 grams of ground coffee, and 250 grams of crisps or hardtacks, the latter usually made of oatmeal with peas or hemp. There were two varieties of hardtacks, for soldiers at the front line and for the rear forces, in which the content of hemp flour was reduced. German hardtacks were of the standard shape, weight, and size, 700 grams. They were made at different factories, but the most famous one was Leibniz Company, based in Hanover. Eiserne Portion was the only way to survive for soldiers faced by encirclement and long-lasting combat operations. Packages with these untouchable rations were shipped in by air or railroad. Sometimes boxes with food sets would be thrown down from planes but missed their designated spots. Thus, they became valuable trophy for Soviet troops, guerrillas, and civilians. The bravest of the boys dared to undertake night raids to the line of fire to pick hardtacks out of the killed Germans' pockets. Nadia told her fiancé about the weird presents from her minor suitor. He promised to take care of it, and soon died in an explosion. Detectives made a decision to search Andrei's home. In his room, they found a curious notebook full of abbreviations which looked like a logbook. The accounted volumes were impressive: 3 boxes of chocolates, a box of hardtacks, 2 boxes of coffee. Another abbreviation could mean nothing other than the hand grenades. And the recorded quantity was 2 boxes. The officers searching the shed found a hiding place storing chocolate, hardtacks, coffee, and a hand grenade, identical to the one which, as per a police report, blew up Nadia's fiancé. It was hard to expect to find any leads at the spot 2 weeks after the explosion, and yet they went to where Nikolai Zaritsky tragically died. One of the finds was a non-extinguishable match lying in the grass. It was exactly the same as the one found by the schoolboy's body. The investigator had a gut feeling that the answer was quite close. All it takes is to remember the right thing. The brick-making factory, it must be somewhere at an arm's length. Plus this white mud looking exactly like the one he saw on Prokhorov's boots. The detective did not believe in accidental coincidences. Distinctive white footprints led to an underground passage covered by 3 branches. Detectives discussed the finding. In the underground bunker, they found loads of foods and arms, a forsaken German warehouse. The floor was studded with cigarette butts. The underbite, way of rolling, and tobacco mix proved identical to the roll-up found at the spot of Andrei's murder. The time came to compare them with Kuzma Prokhorov's cigarettes. That was the first question the detectives asked him. The man understood everything at once but didn't want to give up. A hand grenade fell by a detective's feet. Trying to take advantage of the momentary confusion, the man attempted to escape, but his lameness let him down. Interrogated, Kuzma explained that he had bumped into a German storage accidentally walking home from work. He took foods bit by bit. However, he didn't murder the teen. The detectives learned that Prokhorov was not mobilized to war because of his disability. He went through the Nazi occupation, collaborated with Germans, serving as an agent provocateur. He was planted in camp cells with POWs and snitched what they talked about. Under the circumstances, a refusal to cooperate with the investigation implied the capital punishment, and Prokhorov chose to confess. He learned about the warehouse from a Nazi soldier rushing to flee from Kyiv. He would visit it regularly to retrieve food, but never sold it locally. Instead, the foods were shipped to Odessa. One day he went fishing, joined by his son and Andrei. During a snack, Andrei treated everyone to hardtacks, and Prokhorov recognized the package. He followed Andrei and found out that the boy sneaks into the warehouse. It called for immediate rehiding the groceries. Otherwise, the guy would steal everything or will tell someone about it. Soon enough, his concern proved right. The jealous fiancé Nikolai found out about the hiding place. He was loitering close to the warehouse and accidentally blew up a hand grenade the boy had dropped. Andrei was so scared that he ran for Kuzma's advice without knowing who he was going to talk to. Kuzma talked the boy into keeping everything secret and decided to make sure he stays mute forever. The city was full of rumors about the Hammer Strikers gang, and Kuzma's plan was to disguise his crime under their manner. He was looking for the right occasion to do away with Andrei. Buzika's intervention seemed to offer a perfect chance. Kuzma thought it would be a good way to mislead the investigation. He waited for the moment when Andrei would be alone and hit him with a hammer. The sentence for the murder was 10 years in prison, but after a probe into his collaboration with Nazis, he ended up with the death penalty. In 1952, he was executed.